teachers' unions shelling out big bucks, with the National Education Association on track to spend between $40 and $60 million this election cycle, while the smaller American Federation of Teachers plans to pony up $20 million, more than the organization has spent on any other election ever. Joining me now, Chris Stirewalt, Fox News digital politics editor and the author of Fox News First. Why is that, Chris? Why are so many millions coming from the unions in the midterms?
Because so much is at stake for them. And remember, this is money that is not predominantly being spent on the Senate races and the ongoing battle for control of the United States Senate that has consumed so much attention and so much time. This is money that's being poured into local races, state legislative races, to gubernatorial elections, as unions, government worker unions, work very hard to hold the line against two things. One are changes to schools, things like school choice.
Right.
These are things that relate to teachers being paid or promoted based on how they perform. Those are things they don't want. But the Megillah, the biggest part of all of this, relates to the power of unions to engage in collective bargaining. The kinds of fights that we saw in Wisconsin, right, Michigan, and other places, that's what they're fighting against.
Well, it's interesting, too, because almost all of that union money goes to Democrats. I just asked the viewers to tweet me what percentage they think of that money goes to Republicans. Some people were really optimistic, Chris. They tweeted 38% they thought went to the GOP. Somebody said 95%. Maybe they thought I was asking about Dem donations, because as it turns out, it's pretty much single digits to the GOP, right?
That's right, and that's been the norm for a long time. But it's intensified in the recent years because as Republicans have become more and more embracing of the idea of school choice, more and more embracing of the idea of what they call right-to-work laws, in which the government can't automatically take your union dues out of your paycheck if you're a government worker.
Right.
As they have more and more embraced those ideas, Democrats have become the labor union party, the government labor union party, and Republicans have become the anti. And as that's happened, as we see in states like California, the cycle intensifies.
Right. And also, fewer teachers are actually in the unions anymore, which means that they have less dues. So yet another reason to try to amp up the situation. Chris, thanks so much for the discussion.
You bet.
Time for my take now with two simple questions. Are teachers' unions a good or bad idea for our kids? And do teachers' unions really look out for the best interest of our kids or their own? Seems to me, with the huge amount of spending by unions for the upcoming midterms, the unions want to make sure their candidates win. Why? Because unfortunately, the education of our children is just one more thing that's become ultra-political. The issues you hear coming up time and time again are not about making sure that our kids can compete with other nations that outpace us by a long shot in math or in science. Nope. What we tend to hear about are the controversies over merit pay for teachers, where they'd actually be judged by how good of a job they do, like most of us are in the real world. And school choice, where kids would be able to choose where they want to go to school, in most cases meaning a better school. The unions are against both of those initiatives. The big question is, why? I, for one, would like the discussion about schools to get back to the kids.